Hello, everybody. This is Professor Lilly. So, I just want to go over what we're going to be doing this week. And remember that I already put that video that I shared last week, kind of going over it. So, there's just a few things. First of all, so I'm mostly going to talk about my story. Um, but let me just, since this is going to be the only video for this week, let me talk about what you should be doing this weekend after you are done with the My Story project. So, all you really need to do, so we're going to have the start doing these things called I call them WRPs, and what that means is it just means week-long research project. Okay, week-long research project, and usually the week and the what I mean by week will kind of change, but basically it means kind of working on something for several days, and there usually will be a reading first. So, and this is about so chapter 70 or 70. I'm glad there's not 70 chapters. So chapter 7 is about celebrity, but it's more so about using celebrity to think about popular culture and how the development of communication technologies like the radio and television and music technologies and film have allowed for the distribution and proliferation and popularization, big words, of popular culture. So it's just kind of using celebrity as a way to get to that. So for chapter 7, I mean, I don't want you to read tons of this. I don't want you to do work that's not necessarily applied to the actual project. So just read the beginning. The beginning where it kind of talks about uh, the communication technologies and their role in developing what people know about people they've never met. So that's kind of leading into celebrity. So just read the beginning, like the first couple pages. And then focus on, again, the sections that talk about the role of technology in developing what we call our cultural industries. And those of you, or you all, studied the cultural industries already in the career report. So the cultural industries would be more like film, television, music, radio, and nowadays social media. The more important reading is this one here, Imaginary Social Relationships with Celebrities. So, more so than focusing on chapter 7, again, browse through it because when I do my lecture at the beginning of next week, it will make a lot more sense. But for the purpose of the WRP, you really have to read this. And we'll talk about that more, but like you can see the guidelines here. And so in the actual research project, it's going to ask you to define, for example, what an imaginary social relationship is and things like that that come directly from that reading. So that's all you have to do for next weekend. So definitely read this reading, browse those sections. Like I said, you do not have to look at these sections at all just to get a better sense. So and I still have this lecture. So what I'm going to do for these lectures. So this is it's fairly long. So that's why I relabeled it the old full lecture, because I'm going to redo it, and I really don't want to give you like a 45-minute lecture because I think you're going to tune out and it's going to be boring. So I'm going to strip this down to just focus on what we need to know from the chapter, and also my own additions to be able to better understand the topic and do the assignment that's going to take all of not this week but next week. Okay, so that's all I'm saying about that for next weekend's homework. So this week, some of you are already posting your drafts, which is great. So you might have noticed there's 2 here. So post in whichever section you're in, just because it makes the critiques. You'll be critiquing the people from your actual section. It makes more sense. And if you have not, let's see, I think I put it in here somewhere. Oh yeah, so if you have not, then definitely look at these video examples where I've given, I think most of you probably did, but I've given you some pros and cons So if for some reason you didn't do that before, then I would just look through the pros and cons if you haven't gone through and watched these. So the critique aspect, how does that work? So first of all, get your draft done, post it on YouTube, and then post the link here. So some students have already done it. Let's just see what they've done. So this is looking for at the first section, and so Riley has posted her draft, and I've asked you to say a little bit about just a couple sentences on what it is and maybe why you chose that topic, and if there's something that you haven't done. So she says, I plan on deleting the audio from the clips and doing a voiceover. Okay, so that helps us as the critiquers to understand what she still has to do, or if she wants any particular kind of feedback, then she can ask that question there. And then Peter has come through, and he's given her a little bit of some. So for the critiques, give something that you like about it and something that's strong, and then give something, a suggestion for how you think it would be improved. And so the idea, and in the guidelines, I've asked for each one of you to view and comment on 3 other students in your section. So, and let's say like after, and so the idea is for this so you can go ahead and start doing that today. And obviously by tonight, everyone will have posted. So the critique should start tonight and happen on Tuesday and Wednesday. And the earlier the better, just because by Wednesday and Thursday, certainly people need to be focusing on actually making the improvements to their videos. So, and if you come through, let's say like by Tuesday that Riley has 3 comments. Now, just because it says a reply, let's say like Riley comes through here and she says, oh, thanks, Peter, or something like that, then that would show up as a reply here in the number. But if you come through and you see like that this person has 5 replies, then please go, like Catherine doesn't have anyone who's commented on it yet. So so go and please try to make sure that you help out by giving comments to people that don't have any yet, so that we can make sure that everyone gets some feedback. And I will come through and I will give a little bit of feedback for everyone as well. So it means I'm going to be doing a lot of watching in the next few days. And so that's basically how the critiques will run. And then the idea is that you take the feedback and you make your video, your My Story, stronger. Just something I want to just go back. So, for the reading, this is really just meant for example, in Chapter 10, it just goes through the basic production processes in producing an audiovisual narrative that professionals would use. So, I mean, like scripting, storyboarding, things like that. So it just helps you, especially if you're feeling organizationally challenged about this, like how do I go about doing it? It will just help you to kind of think through the steps of working on your videos. So then, after you get your feedback in the critiques, then you come in here, and so this is for both sections, and this is really just for me grading. So I mean, once you put it in there, you don't have to look at anyone else's. That's what the critiques are for. So everybody should create a blog post, and this is just for me to be able to go in and grade them. And I've given you at the top here some basic parameters. So make sure you put your name in a title for the video. And then if you could write a few sentences on why you chose that topic, if there was anything in particular you struggled with, so we're kind of like reflecting on the process, and then also what you're kind of most proud of or happy with now that you're done with it. And I want these videos to be embedded. Okay, so in the critiques I said you could just put a link. And what does embedding mean? So that means like in the blog post itself, the video is embedded so I can play it. And so how do you do that? So here I have, this is my YouTube channel. So I'm going to go to, And so make sure when you post your YouTube your video, it'll step you through the process, and make sure you choose for it to be public, and that is the default. But if it's not public, when I go to see it or to play it, then it won't play, and that would hurt your grade. I'll have to email you and say, hey, make it public. Okay, so how do I embed it? You have to get an embed code. So I'm going to go over here to share, and so if I wanted to email this video to you, I would just copy the URL and I'd email it. But for this, I would need to embed it. So I'm going to go over here to the far left where it says embed, and I'm just going to click on this code, and I'm going to hit copy. So I'm copying that code, this iframe code. I'm going to come back here, and over here on the toolbar, all the way to the right, it says source code. It's these two hashtags, because in HTML, any kind of code is contained between hashtags. If you go on in communication, take digital tools or Web 1 for like web design or something like that, you will learn more about this. And so right now, let me put in type something. So you'll type your sentences like this is my video, and then you'll put in a few sentences, and then embed the video after that. And so here we have the coding. So these P's are stand for paragraphs. So in between the beginning one tells the browser, oh, there's going to be a paragraph here, put an indentation, and then the end P tag tells it, okay, well, that paragraph's over, and put another indentation. So I'm just going to paste my embed code. It's also called an iframe code. And you don't have to worry about any of this stuff in here. Just don't mess with it once you put it in there. I'm going to hit OK. And at first, you're going to think, oh, it didn't work. But that's just because you're not actually looking at the blog. I'm going to hit save. And then here's my blog. So I can see that, and I can test it. So, and you might want to make sure that it works. I think this is just probably because I'm not near my my router up here. So there it is. So that's what I mean by embed it. And I'm just going to delete this because, oh, well, I could do that later. Yes, delete. Okay, so those final video blog posts, again, are due by Friday night. And I can't think of anything else I need to say. So if you have any confusions, granted you're going to get feedback from me and everyone else in the critiques. So the critiques should run from basically tonight. Again, make sure you do it by tonight so that you don't get dinged on your grade. Oh, just one more thing. So if you click on this, this looks like a submission box, and I just used it to give the guidelines. But if you click on that, then this is also the grading rubric. So if you scroll down, I'm just going to randomly hit grade, and I'm not actually going to grade whoever ends up popping up. Okay, Rebecca popping up first. Okay, so so this is the grading rubric. So I'm going to be looking at, again, and I've mentioned these several times, so a cohesive beginning. Like if I randomly search for whatever your topic is and I found your video, in the first 10 seconds or so, a random person should be able to understand what am I looking at. Is this like about someone's journey on a family trip or a hike? So you need to establish that, like make it coherent. We're looking for, and by middle I mean more like just, is it pacing through? Are you telling the story, or are there holes? Is it confusing? And then a real ending, not ending abruptly. And I like to have some caption. I mean, at the very end, like saying if you used any songs or anything, adding credits, I guess is the right word. Okay, so you have to have captions in there. There's many ways that can be used. It would be nice for everyone to have a title caption at the very beginning. That's another way for you to really establish what the topic is. And then you can use it for like naming buildings or people or giving extra facts. It kind of depends on what kind of genre. But I do want them to be somewhat informative, even if it's a travel memoir. even if it's informative just about your life and what you did, right? Because granted, the audience is me to grade it, but it's also for any random YouTuber who um, finds your video. So if you're saying things that are so personal or esoteric that any random person doesn't get anything out of it, then it's not very informative. Um, okay, so audio quality. So this is not in communication. We have video classes like Video 1 and Video 2 and a broadcast production. And I mean, I'm not teaching that, so I don't expect you to use those skills and concepts that you would learn in Video 1. But you should be able to tell if the audio quality is decent, and if it's crappy, then you need to reshoot it. Or if a photo is not good, you need to crop it or make it better or get a different photo. So it's basically using your critical skills to be able to, as media consumers for most of your life, to be able to figure that out. So in voices, does have to be voices. Remember, for most of you, this will probably be a narrative to help tell the story. You don't have to literally be talking the whole time, and that might actually be kind of distracting. But their narrative, the voiceover should help to guide the narration through telling the story. It could be other people's voices, so maybe you interviewed some people and you use their voices instead. I would like there to be some music; doesn't have to be the whole time, but the quality of setting a mood, whatever mood you think is appropriate. There could be what we call natural sound. So if you went to a creek and you didn't think that your video captured the sound of the bubbling brook, then you might want to get really close and get that natural sound and strip it out. You can even get a sound effects and put it in there. It kind of depends on what the genre is. Okay, yeah, so just quality again here. And then lastly, just making sure you put those, embed the video, and then also put those sentences in there and participate in the critique. So if you do the critique right, you get your video up by tonight, and you do the critiques and you get points for that. So that's the grading rubric that I will use. Again, if there's any questions, just email me. I think I've summed it all up. So enjoy the critiques, enjoy watching each other, give each other some good criticism, but also positive feedback. And I'm looking forward to the critiques and then seeing your final versions. And then don't forget, this next weekend, we're moving on to the next toggle on the Celebrity week-long research project. All right, have a great week. Take care.